again, it's up to you if you wanna probably discuss that part of the life, which I'm sorry, this part of the life that I'm gonna highlight. You mentioned something about abuse. Was that also again, if you're comfortable sharing that,
Yeah,
go ahead.
totally.
Okay, thank you. Um, was that also during the same timeline you were living in Scarborough? And
Yeah, so that was kind of the turning point of everything for me as a person, for my life.
Mhm,
Um, so many things. Like I encountered a lot of abuse from my dad over the years, physical abuse.
mhm,
I mean verbal obviously, but the verbal is nothing compared to the physical. So you don't even think of it as abuse anymore when it's verbal because
mhm,
you're used to getting hit or you're used to also extreme levels of control. Like I had no privacy in my life. Everything was recorded on my computer, my phone. I had zero privacy. I wasn't allowed to hang out with boys because if I wanted to hang out with boys, I was a slut. If I wanted to shave my legs, I was going to be a whore because I was going to be having.
and these
And
comments were passed on by your father?
yes,
Okay.
ironically.
Mhm,
But that's generally how it goes. And that's why when I see some really over controlling men to their daughters, it raises a red flag to me because it's almost like they want to control you for themselves. It's like they have this weird thing where they want to preserve you for themselves. And that's what happened to me. That's what the culmination of everything was there was one night around Christmas he came home from the carnival. And the only thing that we ever bonded on was video games. So we always play video games together from N64 and PS1 all the way up. We'd
mhm,
always have every he'd always go out stealing consoles while he was on the road, stealing games on the road. Like,
okay.
but for him, that was his love language with me was we're gonna play these games together and whatever. Um, until there was one night where it was around Christmas and I was getting sleep because I'd always fall asleep on the couch.
Mhm.
And that's when the rape took place.
And this was from your own father?
My own father, yeah. The one who was controlling me, saying I couldn't hang out with boys because I'd want to have sex and I would be a slut. And that's when I realized that like he's controlling me and putting these things on me because it's almost like he wants to preserve me for himself, but also because he's looking at that way. I was in like all the way up from grade 5 to grade 8 is when he was saying these things to me. And at that age, like, yes, I liked boys, but I would never be thinking about anything like that.
True. Yeah.
Um, so to essentially lose your virginity that way is a very horrible
It is.
experience.
I mean, I have no words, to be honest. I mean, I've heard about abuse, which I'm gonna talk to a little bit, probably not much, how I know about these, but yeah, I literally have no words. I'm really sorry for what you've been through, and I could only imagine how that must have felt. And
Hmm.
how old were you?
I was in grade 7 at the time, so I don't know how old that would make me, but I was a young teen.
Hmm.
And that was a pivotal point for me because that's when I went upstairs to my grandmother and I told her what happened,
You did? Okay.
and she said, "You can't tell anyone."